And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back into the Dragon's Den. My name's Digital Dragon, and I'm a 3D printing variety streamer here on Twitch. That means we do everything from machine unboxings, like our X1C carbons here, Creality K1C, pull-up printer builds, like our Vorons over here, the LH Stinger, betas like the Box Turtle, a little bit of everything. How's it going, Stashigo? Welcome on in. Hey there, Blue Chocobro. And Timor, I think I saw you up there a little bit earlier, so welcome on in, everybody. Sorry for being just a few minutes late today. One, I'll admit I got up a little bit late. I ignored the alarm this morning. And, oh, thank you for the subscribe, Stashigo. I appreciate that very much. And I needed to get some things out of the car. So me and Mrs. Dragon got home a little bit late last night from being down at Echovate where I was working on some printers. And I wound up bringing said printers home, which is a Voron V0 and then a Voron 2.4 that I'm working on for two different people. Anyhow, we got home, had to do some yard work, you know, the typical stuff. And now we're just trying to get things squared away. I'm a little bit tired. I did not realize, but the prints that I was trying to do last night after doing some research and thinking, oh wow, I still haven't printed the parts that I need for the gantry. So those were printing over here on Dragoon. Well, or Dragoon 1. Well, Dragoon 1, the silicone sock caught and tore and ripped off. So that's what I woke up to this morning. A hot bed, a very hot chamber, and a print head that wasn't printing anywhere. So got that cleaned up, and it's working right now on the parts that we're going to need to build out our gantry system for the ZeroG. And then Dragoon 2, things, cross your fingers, is going to start printing parts that we're going to need to work on our 9mm live hubs. So in essence, and this isn't the right one, but in essence, what we're going to wind up doing is we're going to pop this top flange off. Then we're going to turn around, we're going to pop the bottom flange off of, or I'm sorry, we're going to take the top flange off, then we're going to grab another one, we're going to pop the bottom flange off, and that top flange that we took off goes back on there, and this is going to make a live center. Guess it used to be a thing on the Voron 2.2s, changed in 2.4, but that's what we're going to be using for our live gantry here on the, or for our live idlers on the Mercury Rising Reborn. Hey, Lee Marie, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. So let me, real fast, I want to toss the printer back up here and just show everybody the progress that we had on our last stream and maybe give you a little bit of teaser about something else. So this is the printer, and you say, I really can't see what that is. Okay, let me go back here to the main view, and let me step back. Well, let me kill the banner, and then I'll step back and show you as much as I can. So let's hide the banner and those. I'm going to grab this, step back as much as I can without falling, tripping. This is our printer frame. So the gantry is right here where I'm holding it up at in the middle. We'll have a big top hat, and she's gonna be big. And you probably can't tell in that view, so let me see if I can get the overhead shot going. There you go. I told you we were going to see the magenta again. So we're going magenta for the main color on this. Black is going to be the accent. So we'll have magenta mainframe pieces, black accents. These are the first two prints I started, and then I realized I forgot to print the parts for the gantry. So I switched over to do that. I am going to have to order another roll of this. Yeah, black and red, love it. But this magenta is what we did the box turtle in. This is Polymaker's neon magenta. And I don't have a black light, but if we put black lights in here instead of standard normal lighting, she gonna pop. She is gonna pop. So, yeah. I love the way this works out. We've got 2040 stuff down here. We're going to be doing some printed parts that kind of go around. And what's going to happen is you might be able to see right here. It's going to screw down with an M3 right here. And then these two spots are for magnets. So we'll put magnets in there, and then we'll have panel clips that'll come over and just magnetize on there. That's going to keep the top deck panel there. The deck panel is clear because we use drop DIN rails here, and all of our electronics are going to be visible. And I can show you that when we bring Mercury Rising up here as we start to take it apart, which won't be on this stream, but when we start to take it apart, you'll see how all the electronics are laid out. We're going to basically drop it out and put it right in here. Might have to redo some of the wires, but the electronics bay itself is going to be dropped out and moved over. We might have to just reprint some of the brackets if they're not black, just so that they match the theme. Let's go back over here. Throw that stuff up. So yeah, and then this nice bright red shirt is DJ Midnight Wolf. He gave me this shirt during Murph, and I kind of like the idea because the QR code's right there. So not only does he have QR codes at his table, but as he's walking around the venue, if anybody wants to, subscribe to his channels or whatnot, boom, just scan it right there. I'm like, that's a pretty good idea. I never thought about it. Yeah, Lee Marie, it is a big boy. And let me put it to you this way. If you've seen the VCore 4 in person, it's taller than the VCore 4. It's almost as wide and almost as deep. And the frame is rock solid rigid. Remember, we've got its brother, no, not Dragon Spawn, not Speedy Dragon. Dang it, what was his brother name? Do I have his name tag over here? Oh well, I cannot remember his brother's name right now, but we have its little brother there, which is the Ender 5 Pro size that we built under the closed beta, right? I was one of the first ones that got it. In fact, I got the extrusions from Masumi and drilled and tapped them myself, and that was a blast. But yeah, I drilled and tapped my frame myself, and we built that one. And that one was at Murph. Not last year, not this year, not last year, but the prior 2 years to that. So that tells you how long that frame's been in development. It's literally the last weekend in September, Eagle. So for those that are that are wondering, 3D Printopia is the weekend of the 27th and 28th of September. So I'm not saying this printer is going because I don't think I can get this one in the car. Even in Mrs. Dragon's car, I'd have to like lay it down, and I hate laying printers down. Riff might make it somewhere. We might see Riff. Yeah, the Nebula frame is really cool. It is sturdy. It is rock frickin' solid. So if you have a ZeroG Mercury One and you like it, get a Nebula frame. No additional bracing is required. On my on Mercury Rising downstairs, I've got cross braces all over it, trying to make it even more rigid. Yeah, and speaking of drilling and tapping and things like that, so kind of what I want to do here, since I'm a little bit behind and out of sorts today. So this is TurtleCrawler's GitHub for the Mercury One Full Metal Gantry. And I will say thanks to TurtleCrawler, because not only do we have the parts from SendCutSend for our All-Metal Gantry, but we now have the parts from SendCutSend for the metal motor mounts on order, and also for the Hydra arms. So she's going to be more metal than plastic. Hey, Bearded Printer, welcome on in. I've got to get some of my functional prints done so I can start doing some of Bearded Printer's flexibles. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure that Dragoon 2 is going to print. So Dragoon 2 is rocking a Kadivi plate. So at Midwest Rep Rat Festival, let me switch back over here real fast. At Midwest Rep Rat Festival, we got several build plates from Kadivi. And when I say we got, I mean I purchased several build plates from Kadivi. I had seen one over at Echovate, and I might try and steal that one from them just because. But these are what those plates look like from Kadivi, right? This is for the Ender K1C, Ender 3, anything that's in that size. Heck, this could go on the other ZeroG Merc build, right? The smaller one. Same build size. It's all the standard sizes should be this. Actually, I think the Ender 5 Pro might have been 255 by 255. Anyhow, these are double dipped, and the feeling on these is amazing, and I'm giving it a go because the one thing that I noticed here, I don't know if I'll be able to get up there, that says PLA, PETG, and ABS. A lot of your plates will only be PLA and PETG, like your Super Tax and stuff, or just PLA. So the fact that this does ABS, I'm hoping that this acts a lot like the engineering plate from Bamboo Labs. You know, the engineering plate that they no longer make, no longer sell, and I think personally is one of the best plates they've ever had. So if you have anybody with an engineering plate for a Bamboo Lab that wants to get rid of it, hit up Digital Dragon 72 and I will buy them all. Oh, hey, thanks for the subscribe, Lee Marie. Thought you were subbed. What happened? I don't know. Sorry. allergies are going crazy because I was cutting what was the hayfield of the yard. But anyhow, what we're going to do is we're going to come back over here and we're going to look over this and make sure that we have everything. From our parts, we're going to look at the 9mm section. You got assembly step files, so this will be a good thing to check out. This will be all the step files for the front mount, both in imperial and metric. Imperial means you're buying your stock in inches. So I ordered from SendCutSend. I got 1/8 inch, which is 0.125 of an inch, which comes out being like 3.175 versus 3mm, which is what you would get in Europe. Hey, Hutch's Makerspace, how's it going? Or just about anywhere outside the U.S. So we'll look at these when we start to do the actual build. DXFs, this would be the 2D drawings that are used to do the cuts, images, and then the STL files. So this is all the stuff that I'm in the process of printing. And you'll see that there's parts for the front idler, parts for the stepper mount, and parts for the X-joint. So we can't build the gantry pieces until we get these prints done. So that's why I'm trying to bang those out real fast. And then in talking here, right, talks about the stepper flange stack assembly using 5x1 shims and F695 and F695, or excuse me, F695 and 69 bearings. Flange bearings on the outside with a standard bearing sandwiched in the middle. Some M3 washers might be needed with the stepper screws to prevent them from bottoming out in the threads. Fairly standard. Metric plates are 3mm thick. Will require a 5.1 shim, which we're not using. We're using the Imperials, so we should be good. Now, this might give you a first little indication here. So you have a plate at the top, a plate in the middle there, and then one at the bottom. So it's like a double stack at the bottom. Okay, our X joints. Make sure you move the hub on the pulley. It will interfere with the belt. So once again, this is a live idler created from a pulley. So I'll have to work on that. So once again, here we've got these black parts here are metal standoffs. These should be some metal standoffs as well, if I remember right. Though we have printed parts as well. And then we have the front towers. And in the front towers here, 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plate. This part right down here between this lower sandwich is a printed part, and that's used to tension your belts. So we'll have to go through and get these set up. Here is all of our hardware BOM, and this is what I wanted to do, is go through the parts box and just make sure that we have everything, because I believe I ordered everything. Spacers and rods. Okay, so these would be the larger M5 spacers. Fine. Gotta love when the tape on the box causes problems. But I'm just going to kind of lay everything out, and then we'll walk through it and make sure that we do, in fact, have everything that we're going to need, either here that we ordered that was special for the build, or know that I have it somewhere else. M3 by 30 standoffs. Dowel pins. Not going to be long enough. Not going to be long enough. M3 by 30 standoffs. I've got 24. I needed 16. They were 12 in a package. So that's why we got those. So we've got our M3 by 30 standoffs. Our M3 by 40 round column standoffs are here. We needed 6, we got 12. M3 by 5 by 10 spacers. M3, 5, those are various shims. These might be them. I just have M3 aluminum spacers, which is always great when they don't define the size. These are M3 510s. Yes. So there's the M3 510 spacers. We've got those. M5 by 3 spacers, Imperial M5 by 4 metric. I have no idea if those are just, I have no idea what those are. We'll have to see. Um, 5 by 36 dowel pins or 5 by 35. We've got 5 by 35, 10 pieces, and we needed 4, so we're good there. There's our M5 by 35s. M5 by 40s. Again, we need 10, or we needed 2, we got 10. M5 by 45s. I don't see that in this pack, but I do know that I have a bunch of other M5 hardware laying around here, so I probably have those. 22 or 9mm 22 pulleys. Here we go. We need 6. This is a pack of what? 2, 4, 6, 10. So we'll be good there. 695 RS bearing. There we go. And if we need the flange type, we have some from the riff over there. Hey, look, flange type bearings. We need 20 of those. Let me make sure we're these the regulars or the flanges. Those are regulars. And like I said, I should have 625. Oh, might need to get the 695s. Might need to get the 695s because I thought I had them over here. I will double check for the flange ones. If not, we'll order those. And 3x6 flathead screws. We got M3x6 flathead screws. 3x10 flathead screws. 12 flathead screws. M3x20. Not in this kit, but I do know I have those in my toolbox, which is still down at Echovate, so I'll have to bring those back. And 5x14. Those are long ones. I'm pretty sure I have M5x14 and M5x12 in the toolbox at Echovate. M5x25 right here. M5 55 in there. M3 heat sets, got those for days. Various size M5 shims. We got our precision shims here. Now, we didn't run across these aluminum spacers here, or, oh wait, these are the, there's my 45 dowel, M5 by 45 dowel rods. M5 by 12, so we got those spacers. I have a feeling that these two sets of spacers here, which are not listed on there, they're M5 spacers, but the rest is, these are smaller spacers and then these are larger spacers. I have a feeling that these are to replace the printed parts, and we'll use these as the printed parts instead. There's the M5 by 14s as well. So we've got all of our M5 hardware. We got our 9mm belt, of course. We've got our plates. And then we're printing out the parts, but we may not need some of those prints because we may have them here in aluminum spacers, which would be fine. Okay. The other thing that I noticed last night, was it here? No, where did I notice that at? Oh, hey, there's the aluminum spacers and standoff. This might have been where I grabbed the dowel pins, threaded spacers, M5 by 8, 35 to 40 millimeter spacers. There we go. That would be the larger spacers I have here. And we've got the small ones here, the 3 or 4 millimeter length ones. Where did I see? Sorry, folks, I'm looking around because there's something specific I need to find. There's step files. Ah, here we go. So flange stack, tower section view, flange stack, 9mm X-joint countersink bottom. So you will now notice on our joints here, we've got 2 of these, right? We need to set them up as shown with the large round holes to the inside, and you will see where there is 4 screw holes listed here for countersinking. I missed that. So those procedures were not done by SendCutSend, which means I now need to do those procedures. What we're going to do, and I don't have my big fat Sharpie over here. Let me grab my other Sharpie. Is I want to mark which one of these needs to be countersunk. So we want these 2 holes up at the top. This hole here and this hole down here. Okay, so these two at the top, one hole over here, and the bottom left hole over here. And we're going to mark the same ones over here on the other one. And that way, when we go to do our countersink, we countersink the right holes. So, when we go to work on these, we can do these countersink holes that are marked on here by hand. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean I can literally take my deburring bit, which also doubles as a countersink bit, and we can use this and manually countersink. But that's kind of a pain, right? So what else can we do? Well, we will grab our, we won't do a garbage can. Let me see. I had a shop towel right here. We can put a shop towel down to collect debris. And I may need to get a little piece of a wood. So bear with me. I could do a box as well if I had an empty box, though the wood would be even better. Give me a second, folks. I will be right back. Yeah. Small block of wood. We're going to need the drill. We're going to need to put a small hole in this block of wood. So we'll reach under here and grab our drill bits. Doesn't need to be a through hole. We just need a hole that we can use to center some things. So apparently I had an X on here, but that's not going to be a spot. We'll try and go right in the middle. Like I said, it doesn't need to be deep. We're just using that as a relief hole, and I'll show you why in half a second. Because, once again, I was building an airplane, and on the airplane, you'll have plenty of aluminum parts that you will need to work on, drill holes, countersink, right? So what I've got is an awesome little tool, and it allows you to do repeatable countersink. So it is this tool right here. It is a countersinking tool. So you'll see that this stem in the middle can press down. There are jaws here. I can pull this apart and unscrew this and make this depth further. So you'll notice that I'm going to put this on my piece, and It's got a centering bit, and then it's got the actual countersink bit in there. So we're going to be able to use this to dial in our countersink just right, and then we can just start banging all of the countersinks out that need to be countersinked. Hey, Additive Adam, how's it going? And once again, this is a tool from the plane building, and that's the reason we put the little hole there, is as you can see, our countersink bit has a guide pin to it. So this is 100 degree. I think it calls for 90, but says that 100 will work. So we'll put that down in there, and put that down in there, make sure we're in the hole fully. There we go. Apparently I need this adjusted more. And let me come back over to the side bench side. And you'll notice the one that I was working on right here. Come on, focus. Focus. See how we get a nice, good concentric countersink there? That's what this tool allows us to do. So what we'll be able to do now is take one of our M3 countersunk screws out of the pack and check it out. Yeah, it is a fancy tool. Like I said, you do not need this tool. I got this tool because I was building a plane, an all aluminum plane, and you do a lot of countersinking. And, you know, doing it by hand this way, it's, you know, one, it's going to build up your forearms, and then it's going to give you carpal tunnel and a few other issues. So what this is going to allow us to do then is take one of our screws, drop it in there, and we'll be able to see right now it's still, come on, it's still a little bit proud there, you can see. So we need to go a little bit deeper, and we do that by unscrewing this locking collar here, which is a little easier said than done. Let me bring you guys in because it'll be easier that way. Right, so on our tool we've got this locking collar, like a jam nut. We'll unscrew that, and then there's some tooth jaws here. We can pull that back. Now we can turn this, and we'll give it a couple more turns. We'll lock it down, and that'll give us a little bit more depth that we can then try and redo that again. We'll line that up on our little relief hole so that our guide has some place to go. And once again, it's a little bit of trial and error, but once you get it there, then it's repeatable. This is basically a fancy, you can do this in a drill press. You can do it like I'm doing it here. But this is a tool that I had from doing my plane build. It ensures you get really nice, good, clean chamfers or countersinks, right? Come here. Get a nice, good, clean countersink. You can take your screw, drop it down in there, and we're looking for flush, and that's almost there. We're going to go 2 clicks more. Now, I think it was saying using a 100-degree bit, or I'm sorry, a 90-degree. This is a 100-degree. We should be fine with that. So we're going to pull this back. I'm going to go 3 more. Should be good now. And once again, this piece right here, whoops, is non-marring. So that's why you put that on the surface and then you push down and drill through. So that's what we're seeing. So all we're trying to do is make sure on the first hole that our screw sits all the way down and is flush with the top. And when it's there, we're in like Flynn and we can just start going through, darn it. And we can just start going through and doing all of these one after another. And you got the cutouts here on the edge here so you can look through and make sure that that pilot is going into the hole right. But basically it's a fancy depth stop that lets you get clean and repeatable countersinks every time. So it takes a second to get it dialed in, but once you're dialed in, it's just one after the other. So just like that, boom, 1, 2, 3, 4 countersinks. So that side's done. Now we'll do the other side. If you've got a drill press, same tool works in the drill press just fine. Just like that. Another 4 holes. So those are done. Now we're going to go back here and look at the next side. So that was the countersink for the X joint bottom, countersink X joint top. These will be these pieces here. And we're going to lay those out like they're showing us, which is like that. And then we'll mark the appropriate holes. Here, here, Okay. Now, once again, if you have the means of doing this, you can do this yourself and save yourself some money. If you don't have the means of doing this, SendCutSend can do these based on your technical drawings. So I could have uploaded these images so they would have known exactly where to put these countersinks. Just know that every process or procedure that you tell SendCutSend to do, or JLC, PCB Way, or whomever, they charge you. I mean, that's them doing all this work. So they can do it with a CNC, but they're going to charge you for that tool change and extra machine time. And I've got all the tools and don't mind drilling, tapping, chamfering. I just took a file to these edges, and I really still don't like them, so I'm going to go through and deburr these on my Scotch-Brite wheels so that they're really nice and cleaned up. Granted, I'm not like trying to do aerospace or aircraft aluminum stuff. It doesn't matter, but if you're going through and taking the time to do things in all metal, make it look good. Okay, so we've got those two pieces done now. Next up, front idlers. Now, here's where we want to be careful. Exactly. All right, cool waters. Yeah, you got a jet. You have to go into work, huh? So in here, you'll notice that even though we have 6 plates that are identical, only 4 of them are getting screws. So we're going to take 2 of our plates and just set them aside from the get-go. And then the other 4 are going to get the treatment. I'm not going to mark these because I know which 4 holes are going to get these. So we'll just work on getting this started. Now I have these tools for different size pilot holes. So we have 27, 30, and 40. And those are drill sizes. I have no idea. They're just number 20, number 30. So I have no idea really what that size equates to without looking it up on the charts. but that's what we're going to be looking at. And this drilling procedure does heat these up a little bit, so just be aware. And the size is the size of that pilot hole here for the centering bit, right? So I checked, and this is, I believe, a number 40, which fit fine in these 3-ish millimeter holes. So that was but you'll also have these in like 90, 100, 120, and that's the degree of the slope. And because you're trying to get the best mechanical bond without gaps for an aerospace thing, you have to really look at what angle I'm using where to make sure that you're using the right angle. Okay, so all 4 of those plates are done now. Now we're going to have the stepper mounts. And once again, you'll see that we've got to set these up in a specific row pattern. 2 of these aren't going to have any holes in them, so we'll just peel 2 of those out. We'll try and set those up in that same orientation on our table. And 2 of them go this way, 2 of them go this way. 2 go this way, 2 go that way. And I am going to mark all of these holes because there's just way, way too many holes on here. So you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes on each one. The other side, same pattern. Okay. Okay, we got these lined up. Now we'll just go ahead and do these ones too. Well, that one just didn't look right, so we redid it. Okay. Come on, you can get there. Last plate. Well, not last plate, but last set of plates. Now you see how fast this is using the drill. Let me just try and do this one by hand. I'm just going to compare it to the one next to it to make sure that I'm getting the right depth. Still not there. But you get the point. It's going to be a lot more work to do this by hand. Can it be done by hand? Yes. So much easier when you have a drill and a depth stop, basically. Come on. All right. And just like that, we are done. We've got plenty of aluminum shavings. So this is why I do it over a towel. Now, definitely not saying that you need to go out and get one of these, but just know that there are tools out there to make our lives simpler. Yeah, and these are just showing our bearing stacks in detail. So we may need those down the road. Once again, make our lives easier. So once again, a countersink tool. You can get different size bits and stuff that feed into it. Uh-oh, Timor. So basically what we were doing is we've been going through and looking at our guides, and we validated that I believe we have all the hardware available here, or I've got some in the toolbox down at Ecovate. And it's gives us a good idea of how everything lays out. We looked through the BOM, and then we came up here and we looked at the 9mm because we're doing 9mm belts. We looked at the 9mm stuff, which once again, we've got the step files, the DXFs for used for cutting, images that we're just using for the countersink processes, and then you have imperial or metric. If you're buying US from SendCutSend, you're dealing an 1/8 inch sheet, which is 0.125 inches, 3.175, I think, is millimeters. If you're buying metric, then of course it would be a straight 3mm sheet of aluminum. But this kind of shows us what our stacks will look like from a profile view. The X joints, the front idlers, so forth. And then under the images is where we were coming through, and there's a set down here that shows the countersinks. So we were looking at these files and we were going through and doing our countersink operations based on these files. And we were using our fancy countersink drill bit. The nice thing with this is chucks up into a drill or a drill press, right? And it springs down to a consistent depth, right? You have these viewports so you can make sure that you're getting your pilot hole tip into the hole to then get a good countersink cut. But micro adjustments here, so you can unscrew this knob. You'll pull this back and you'll notice there are teeth there. So you can adjust this one tooth or more and get it, adjust your depth. Lock in that collar, test it, make sure it's to the right depth that you want, and then it's rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat doing your drills. You've got this piece right here, which is going to be a non-marring surface. So if you're doing a flat sheet and doing a bunch of operations, you're guaranteed to get to the same depth and you're not going to mar up your surface. So I was using this when I was doing my airplane build. But I think we have all of the things done. Let me pull down the zip. Because we're going to need to bring up Fusion. Where the hell did that go to? Go. Stop. Stop. Open it in the right application. Sorry. Go back over here, full screen. Get Fusion open. Open. Front mount. Okay. Now let's see where we're at. Have a quick seat here. Okay, so update later. Oh, here's our front mounts. 2.5 millimeter radius. We're going to be using M3x10 cap screws. What we're going to wind up doing, let me actually switch the views around. Hey, Projects in Dad's Garage, how are you doing? That was not the intended. This, properties, cancel that. This, properties. Yeah. Oh, there we go. So we got that. Let me bring you all in here some, and we'll work on getting these pieces done. So once again, we've got countersinks on this side now, nothing on this side. So this will be where our fastener stuff goes into. And we're going to be building this from, well, drawings now, right? So what we're going to need is some standoffs. And I want to see this dowel pin right here is an M5x30. Big. That dowel pin is M5x30 and going through things. I would almost say that these would be M3x30 standoff or the printed parts. We are working on the ZeroG Mercury One rebuild. So in the process of this rebuild, we are going through and implementing TurtleCrawler's 9mm All-Metal Gantry. So what that means is a lot of cut aluminum instead of printed parts, a lot of different fasteners, and we're going with 9mm belts instead of 6mm belts. He does have the same set of files for 6mm belts. It's the same physical cut files. It's just different hardware in between the plates. So that's what we're going to be working on, is putting this together. So what we're doing is we just pulled up the step file CAD so that we can look and see what screws that we need to use. These, once again, were M3x10 countersunk metal cap screws, which I have a small assortment here. And these are M3 by 30 threaded standoffs, which is what I have here in my hand. Let's go back to the browser window. So this might be a little bit easier to see. So it looks like we're going to need 4 of these. And our M3 by 10s. Now all of this is metal. It's going to be under tension. And we're going to be cranking on this. And I just realized that a couple of my drivers, what do I got here? This is 3. My 2mm driver is downstairs, isn't it? It is. Bear with me, folks. I'll be right back. I'm going to go down and grab that driver. And I don't have, maybe I do. There we go. We have a couple of shop towels from we're doing something else. We'll just throw these underneath here. That way we can keep things, hopefully the smaller pieces, from sliding everywhere. Because what we're going to do is we're going to Loctite all of this stuff when we put it together. Okay, so I'm going to start from the top and work my way down. So we're going to use M3 by 10 countersunk screws. Get a little bit of Loctite on the end. And go into our threaded standoff. Do that 4 times. So how are you doing, Project in Dad's Garage? Pretty nice meeting so many new people at Midwest Rep Rap Festival. Okay, there's one. We're going to go ahead and do a second one as well while we're here because we've got everything sitting here. Looks like we'll have a dowel pin and an idler of some sort. Now, one thing to remember too, we're using Loctite and we're using aluminum spacers and stainless steel screws, meaning you can break these. So because we're using the Loctite, there's no need to apply all the uggas and the duggas. In fact, if you do, you're going to have a bad day because then you're going to figure out how to drill these things out without enlarging the hole. Let's get them in there, get them set, and you'll be fine. What's everybody else working on this fine Saturday morning? And did everybody have a good 4th of July yesterday? Hopefully there was lots of barbecues and good food, good friends, family. Okay, so there's our two top pieces. There's a 5mm hole at the bottom. It's going to take a 5mm by 20 socket head cap screw and start M5 by 10 by 3 aluminum spacers. So that would be these little guys here that we would use as a spacer there. Now, I don't have the printed part. It's printing as we speak. So we're not going to be able to quote unquote finish these until those printed parts finish. But we can get some things prepped. Well, this will have an M5 by 20. And that M5 by 20, I have a feeling, is going to go all the way down and screw into or mount to directly into our whatchamacallit. Hide that printed piece. No, undo. Hide printed piece. Well, that did not do what I wanted it to do. The joys of Fusion 360. M3 by 5 by 10 spacers going through the printed part doesn't make sense. I mean, I guess it does because I'm sitting here looking at it, right? M3 by 5 by 10 spacers. Where were those? Nope, 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 nope. Hey GTR Dad, how's it going? These are the M3 by 5 by 10 spacers that are being called out for. There'll be 4 of these. Then the bottom printed plate. Once again, the plastic will need to be put in there as well, but we'll add that once the print finishes and cools down. It's going to be a little while. So these 4 spacers, and then it's got to be coming up from beneath with M3 by 20. And I only get up to 16 here. My 20s are not with me. Ay, 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 ay. And 16 is just definitely not going to be long enough, I'm pretty sure. Go through there. Go through there. Yeah. 19s are definitely, or 16s are definitely not going to be long enough. So it's plate, spacer, and then bottom plate. I wonder, because the spacer would be the one that doesn't have anything in it. I'm just trying to get my visualization going here is what I'm doing. No, not going to work. Why not? Oh well, no visualization more than that. So that's basically going to be our stack, right? What can we do? Can we do? Eiler. I mean, that's going to be a printed spacer. Yep, that's just going to be a printed spacer with M5 by 30 dropping down through there. And that's going to rest in the printed part. So we need that printed part, that printed part. That's an aluminum spacer. Five ten one shim. Your 510-1 shims and a half. So 2.5 is the shims. What do I do with the shims? Hey, Random Pinker, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. You're drinking your coffee. There you go. That's a good thing to be doing. Okay, so I've got 4 packs of shims here. And how much you want to bet they're all 4 different? What do we got? 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and 0.5. All righty. These 2 are definitely not getting used. You can figure out which one of these is 0.3 and which one is 0.5. Hope everybody's doing well on this Saturday. Yeah, it says 0.2. But for sure that was the 0.3s, but good news is I think these are the 0.5s, and if they are, then that's all we need. Point 0.5. Now, there's some 1mm shims in there as well. I have 1mm shim stock. I just need to find it. And how much you want to bet? I've got shims and washers all mixed in together. Great. What's the difference between a shim and a washer? What is the difference between a shim and a washer? A washer is normally stamped, and you'll have a smooth side and a rough side, where a precision shim will be smooth on both sides with no burrs. So I may have to go find some precision shims as well. Of course I am. Why wouldn't I need to be? Well, for darns, I'm not going to be able to get in there. That's the bearing stack, flange with a standard one in the middle. That's not what I wanted to do. What are you doing? Here we go. Here's our live idler up there. Another printed piece. So yeah. So that is the only idler, which is a bearing stack that we have at the front. The live idler is on the XY joint. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, Random Tinker. How's it going? Welcome on in, Laser 3D CNC. Yeah, it was awesome meeting you at Murph too. I apologize for not coming by later in the day on Sunday and checking out your booth in more detail and checking out the scans. Exactly, Timor. It's easier to machine. The majority of it's flat. Even the motor mounts, there's one motor mount that has a bend in it, and TurtleCrawler's looking at making that a flat mount and just doing a printed part for the tie-in of the cable chain. That'll make it even cheaper to get through SendCutSend. So, or whomever else you wish to go through. So yeah, we are going to be held up waiting for these printed parts. I really wish that it did not fail on me overnight. Otherwise, I would have had them. But yeah, we're not going to be able to get too far at all on this stuff today because of that. So we do know that we have our shims here. I was thinking, oh, I should be able to do my shim stock. Yep. Nope, because I need to find the rest of my 1mm precision shims or get some on order. I'll go ahead and put these spacers away for the time being. Now you'll notice that we've got spacers that are going to be going through a printed part. And you're like, why would you do that? Well, one, the spacers are going to give you more compressive force than the printed part. And that now adds a 5mm pin, 4 5mm compressed aluminum spacers on that part. And you'll see that we've got a heat set insert at the front. We're using that and a screw to pull this tight. Now, the one thing that I would love to see is this to be on the complete opposite side. Maybe use a longer one and using a longer bolt, but then I think it's going to be really, really long. And the reason I say that is because that way you have to pull this heat sink or this heat set all the way through the printed part before you have a failure. At this point, you're going to have it right here, and if it fails, it fails, right? Let me see if I can bring this up. Okay, on this side, we're going to be able to start doing something similar. So let's scoot around the edge here and see. Let me hide some belts. There we go. So we're going to run into the same thing here where we're going to need our precision shims, but we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 standoffs in place. Once again, these are the M3 by 30 standoffs. M3 by 8s. Okay. So there we go. We could go ahead and start getting these put in place some, I guess. At least get our standoffs done. Let's make a little bit of progress while we can. Start building these out. You were so busy. Yes. I love doing the builds at the show, but it does tie me to the table. And I think that's one of the reasons why Miss Dragon had me doing builds, is because if I'm not doing builds, I'm flitting around like a butterfly everywhere. Like literally just all over the place. Okay, so we have our top plate. We're going to need M3 by 8 screws and some more of our standoffs here. Like I said, I just want to try and make some progress if possible. Whoop, too much on stream today. Some of our longer screws I won't have access to just yet because they're out at Echovate, so I'll have to go and grab those later. So once again, our printed parts for this build are going to be the neon magenta that we used in the box turtle build at Murph. Told you I really like that, so we're gonna be doing those again, or using that color again. So we'll use that on this build. We're going to be using the magenta and the black. The black's going to be very sparingly. And of course, as you can see, we're moving away from a lot of printed parts on this build. So we're going to be very rigid. And this should become a very reliable build that we can really beat on to get some work done. If you're doing your builds, I bet you buy less at the show. Well, sort of. I did get a case and a half of filament from 3D Fuel. I got a lot of filament from Edge of 3D. He was doing his hey, just come and get it or I'm going to throw it in the dumpster thing. So I came and got some. And then I got the 2 printers that I had previously purchased from MakerMine Nexus. So I got those, which was a Prusa Mark III and an FL Sun Super Racer. I did post a little bit of content on the Super Racer. And I'm wondering, like, it's stock firmware right now, which is Marlin, so we may be converting that over to words on stream are hard sometimes. We might be converting that over to Clipper here soon. And then I'm getting some inconsistency between prints. And I think that's just, you know, hey, you might have to go and rehome and bed mesh or stuff like that between every print on a Delta. This is my first Delta, so I don't know. I'm just used to print and go with a CoreXY, so. But I do know that kinematics is a little more interesting. Hey, Shenanigans, how you doing? Welcome on in, my friend. Hope you're doing well. And then I also got another Mark III from KB3D Chris. The Jabberwocky he gave to me. So we've got a few things coming up. We're doing good. We're trying to, and hey, Tactical Yukon Cornelius. Wow. How's it going? We're working on getting our all-metal gantry started for the Mercury 1.1 rebuild. We've got the nebula frame on the floor behind me. We've got the metal parts cleaned up. I did say I was going to take the Scotch-Brite wheel of these, but if I'm going to start putting parts on it, probably not anymore, because I don't want to hit these aluminum parts and screw them up, or the black parts and screw them up. I mean, it's not bad. It'll be okay. We're not in here hand jamming on it all day, so we'll be good. So these are going to be the tops for the XY joiners. I can't start putting bearing stacks in because I am still waiting for parts like this and this, which are 3D printed parts, and which are going right now, and the shims. I apparently do not have the 1mm thick shims. Those are more M3x8s coming in from the bottom. Let me think this through. It would be so much easier to kind of flip this over, right? Flip this like that, build my bearing stacks, then put the other plate on it and screw it in. So if I put the bottom plates on here just as a space holder right now, it's really, I'm not going to Loctite it. I'll just set them on here just to have the parts sort of done. Easier to move around, less things that can be lost in the process of doing so. Okay, so big fat holes line up. That one will go there. This one will go here, yep. So we also did a little bit of machining here. So these plates needed countersinks because we're using countersunk screws. So I had to go ahead and do those countersinks. And I've got a cool little tool that allows me to do those rather easily and with high repeatability. It is a countersinking quick bit, for lack of a better term. I'm trying to remember the name of it right off the top of my head, and I can't. But it's chucks up in the drill here. You've got your countersink bit down here at the end, and this is spring loaded. You've got a centering nub at the bit, and you can see that it goes to a consistent relief or reveal depth every time. And it's got this non-marring surface so that you can get nice and flat on your piece and go ahead and push down. Now to adjust this, you take this locking ring, pull it back, and then you pull and you see that there's teeth in there. Now we can adjust, and you can get that micro adjustment. Go down and do it, and once you get to your depth, now you've got a highly repeatable down to the right depth every single time. And I have this bit, it is a fancy bit, and I have this because I was building an airplane. So that's why I have this bit, was doing countersinks on my airplane frames. So for now, like I said, we're just going to put the screws on here just to keep the parts together, make it a little bit easier to move around. But the bottoms, we'll build from the top up or down, I guess. We'll build them like this, and then we'll put Loctite on and Loctite these down. But these will be the XY joints. I've got the parts to do the bearing stacks and stuff like that. What I don't have is the 1mm precision shims. So I'm going to need to order some of those so that we can get those done up and going. Okay, these are the beginning of our front idlers. I'm kind of stuck waiting on prints because you'll have a mid plate, a print, and then the bottom plate to get your full stack. And in that print, there's going to be 4 aluminum spacers, and then you'll have your idler. So I need to get those prints done before I can finish putting these stacks together. And I can't kind of pre-assemble these because, well, I need M3x20 screws, countersunk screws, and I only have M3x16 here is my largest size. I have 20s, they're just in my tool chest at Echovate. Loctite, just tighten them until they loosen, it'll be fine. And then we can put epoxy on them, and that way it'll tighten them back up, and we'll never get them done again. Or we'll never get them undone. Okay, so we're going to come over here to our actual motors. And you see here's all of the printed parts back here that we need. That's what we're waiting on. And there's printed parts here. Really? Printed part there, which is all part of the one bracket, right? So we'll be in a holding pattern there. Now you'll notice we've got the top bracket, the bottom bracket, and then this other bracket. So that's kind of an interesting thing there. We don't have any install instructions per se, so we're kind of just digging through the CAD here. We do like this. We do have screws that are coming from the bottom all the way up, and if it tells me what that screw size is, that's M3x12 flatheads. We do have those. All M3x12s. That is good. Now, M3x12s coming up, we've got several aluminum spacers in here, right? That's an aluminum spacer, but we can see that this is going to be a printed piece, which means I wonder, we click that, hide that. I'm just wondering why these two are stacked together. Hide that one. So is there a spacer in that printed part? There is. There is. So see, that would have caught us. So this has a a standoff, a threaded standoff within the printed part. So we really can't do that install just yet because we're going to need that printed part. Now, the other thing that I'm noticing is there is a heat set insert on these two screws back here. Okay, Wampus. Long bolt, bolt all the way through into a T-nut. So that will be the mounting standoff. This is going into one of those. This is going into one of those. The three on the inner side. So these three countersinks, 1, 2, and 3, are going into heat set inserts in that printed part. Okay. I'm just trying to decode my way around here. So yes, those three are going into heat set inserts. Here's the 4 mounting the motors. And there's heat set inserts around those. So we need the printed parts so that we can build these stacks, because we have to put heat set inserts in. And so we need to get the yeah, so we have to start from the motor side of the top down, because we have to get these 3 center screws into here. Let me go big screen. Yeah. So because we have heat set inserts at these 3 points that are going to go into this plastic piece, we need to get the plastic piece printed, put in the heat set inserts top and bottom, and then we need to mount the plate let me think through this. 2.5 driver, will that go through? Okay, I think we're going to build the stacks. And then if we're smart, we put the belt through, load the motor in place. That way it's potentially easier to get the belt wrapped around. And then we can come through from the bottom and do all 4 screws to mount the motor. Ay, 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 ay. Which means we can't build any of this because we're reliant on having to put heat set inserts into the plastic parts before we can get anything done. Fun. So the good news is it looks like there's no fasteners solely in that middle bottom plate. So coming from the bottom up, right? Yeah, there's nothing in that lower metal plate. The lower metal plate. No. The lower plate, middle plate. I'm trying to figure out why are we doing a double thickness plate there? Everything that's going into that goes through the bottom plate. So this is just spec gap. Component mirror, component mirror. Oh, yeah. I don't think we're printing those spacers, which means what are our M5 spacers? Because we have M3 by 40, we have M3 by 30s. These are 40s. So we would need the M5 by 40s maybe? Or I'm sorry, M3 by 40s for those standoffs. How long till you print the parts? They are printing right now. They are printing right now. I had them printing overnight. The print failed. So I had to readjust and restart this morning. We're going to need 3 of these. And these are M312s. So once again, these are going through the bottom up into the standoffs. The printed part will sleeve over one of the standoffs. So we should be good to go there. Whoa. So outer reach standoff. Yeah. Yep. It did suck. But it's It's okay. We can survive and we can overcome. And what I'm noticing is these are not sitting nearly as flush as I want them to, so I'm going to pop these back out and I'm going to hit these again. Well, let me think that through. Because these are going to go on. So this is a mounting screw and these three are mounting screws. So these are just kind of hanging out. Whoops. Mounting screw, mounting screw, mounting screw. Bearing stack, bearing stack. So these just being a little proud instead of fully countersunk should not make a difference. And things sitting flush and flat because it lines up with the channel. So we're good. I don't have to get that anal today. I'm going to try not to let that get to me. So there's the three standoffs coming from the bottom, and we'll build this from the bottom up. Once again, these other three countersinks are going to go into the heat sets into the printed plastic part. This part of this printed part right here slides down over this, and that's going to help define the space. So it'll go down on this. It's going to have the space here for the 5mm dowel pin that we'll use, right? M5x30 dowel pin. Some spacers and things like that that go through it. What else? These will be through bolts that come down and go into the T-nuts and the extrusion. So we'll be good to go there. That gets us the bottom going. We're going to grab a couple of these and we'll do the same thing. Just rinse and repeat. Or the other side to get prepped for the other side. Flavor your stuff. It'll help later. Just throwing it out there. I'm also finding that one, I need some screws that are down at Ecovate, so I'll have to remember to grab those and bring them back. And two, brain fart words on stream. Working on the printed parts right now. I'm working on the part that I will need in order to take apart and build the live idlers. That part has finished behind me. So I will be able to go grab those and we'll get started on pulling those apart. So we'll keep making what progress we can is kind of what I'm saying. Here, so we've got our bases started. I'll go like that. That'll go like that. For now, I have no idea what size screws I'm going to use for the top, but I will kind of do like we did before, and I'll just put 3x10s. I'll just go ahead and put these other top panels on just so, get that out of the way. The way we can grab the right way. It won't be Loctite in, but it'll just make it easier for me to move things around and not lose parts or get confused later on. We know we're going to have to build these from the bottom up to build our stacks, so yeah. Does anybody have any big projects that they got going on? Anything big for 3D Printtopia that you're trying to get done? Like I said, I know that as far as this project goes, it is probably not going to follow me to places just because it's going to be a big, heavy, chonky boy. It'll make it to a show. I'm just not sure which one. You never print pasta, you never print. Exactly. In this case, it stopped before it really went to any major pasta, but it, whatever happened, pulled the heat sock off the sorry, I'm having a brain fart here. Yes, that's the right one. That's the right. That's the left. It's the left. That's the right. These two stacks really don't matter. There we go. There we go. Put this up. Close this. These are M3. Whoop. Yeah, these are M330s that really, really need a bag. Do I have another bag in here that I threw away? Oh, no. No. There we go. M3x30. Working on a parametric electrical connector that incorporates other plugs like XT30 for power and 2.54 for data. Nice. Yeah, like I said, I've got a Voron. I've got a Voron 2.4 sitting over here for maintenance for EPACs. And then I'm also working on a V0 for another individual at Ecovate. And then I got their 2.4 to work on. So I've got a couple of things here. There's printers all over the living room right now. Mrs. Dragon is not happy. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, so real fast, I need uh 510-1 precision shims. 0.135 and 5x1 shim, yes. See if they got shim washer, stainless steel metric flash washer, not not a shim. There's shims, they'll get here in weeks. We prefer not weeks. Not seeing shims. And do not want to sit there and do them all in 0.5 millimeter and just stack the hell out of shims. That's once again. Alrighty. Well, this is gonna stink. I think I can. Hey, Free Heathen, how's it going? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is not a shim. That at least looks like it's cleaned up. All right, let me double check my stash here. Once again, and Free Heathen will know this. There's a difference between shim and washer, right? Shim's not going to have the burr. It shouldn't look like a burr. Well, maybe this is my precision shim, or not precision, but these are my 1 millimeter shims. Maybe we can try and get some stacks going. Okay, let's take a look at that. Go away. Nice. I can't really start these ones because I'm going to need the printed parts. What do we got here in the front? Besides a file that just went away from me. An X. Idler over here. Wrong side. Where is... I swear, sometimes all I want to do is look at that one right there. Damn it. Me and this file are about to have at it. There we go. Thin to thick. So we're going to need a, what was that, a 5 by 30 dowel. Yeah, you can always tumble washers. That is true. Okay. So we've got dowels. And I bought dowels, but most likely I had all the dowels I could ever need for this project. So we're sitting upside down. We've got our 4 standoffs. We're going to put in our dowel pin. And it's a pretty decent fit, as in a tight fit. So we'll get that pressed in there. So once again, nice press fit. Do not go through and ream these out, because then you'll lose the interference fit. And this peg becomes something that goes up and down. Okay, so we have that there. Let's switch from full screen back to the browser window. Okay, so we have our stack here. This is the beginning of our bearing stack. We need a 0.5 shim. .5. We'll need 2 of our 1mm shims. And then we need our bearing stacks. And I need my 2 RS bearings. Come on. Like, trying to get this thing open so I can reseal it, keep my labels, but it's going to be this much of a pain in the butt. It might just get ripped open. We'll write what those are on it. These are the 2 RS bearings. I need the flange versions. Hey, look, 62 RS, non-flanged, non-flanged. Do I not have the flange versions? What the ever-loving, soul-crushing. What are these different? 625, 2RS, 6. Oh, these are 695. We're looking for 695 or 695, not 625. Okay. And those I'm in. Bear with me, folks, as I dig through all my bins again. Haha, I knew I had them. Do I have enough? We don't know, but we got our flange versions now. Okay. So, standard saying goes, flange side down to our spacers, to our shims, a non-flange 2695, and then a flange with the flange facing up, and that gives us our 9mm belt path. Then we'll need another washer, and I think that is a printed part. So we'll have a printed part, and then we'll have our middle spacer block. So we can't put that on just yet because we will have to put a printed part there. How are we doing? 67%. So, once again, this is a Kadive plate, PLA PETG ABS. We just printed ASA. Comes off, really nice finish. Yeah, this is a pretty nice plate. This is my first time using it. These are double dip plates. Once again, they're from Kadive. They were at Murph. In fact, they were right across from me. And I bought plates for the Bamboo Lab, the K1C, and believe it or not, for the machine that we are rebuilding right now. So, yeah. They seem to work real nicely. So Heathen, you have not seen this printer, and well, you may have seen the original build, but you have not seen the size of the printer that we are rebuilding. I don't think. Hey, Mad Size Slack, how's it going? Welcome in. Well, yeah, I tend to buy bearings in bulk when needed. These are, yeah, just when I need them for a project, I go and buy them. So, oh, this one's going to be different because this is the other side. So, from here, we're not going to go in from the top. We're going to go in from the bottom section. We would need the spacer first, then our bearing stack. So I can't even do that one yet either because I'm still waiting on the printed parts. Dang it. Ah, killing me. Need printed parts. So we're going to need this piece right here. This is going to help us create our live bearing. Our live idler. So what I saw was we're going to need to put these two halves together with an M3x30 screw. So I believe I've got one of those in here. Yep, M3x30. And what this is going to allow us to do is basically use a M5 to an M5 screw and nut to pull the hubs off of a bearing, and then to press the hub or the one of the hubs back on a second bearing. So I'll show you how I think this works based on the video that I watched. Okay, you've got a spot in here for your 9mm belts. You got a spot over here for an M5 nut, and we'll need an M5 nut, a long M5 screw, and then we'll start working on popping that out. So what we're going to do is we've got our jig here, M5 nut drops down in the jig. Our nut drops down in the jig. We'll take one of our pulleys, and we're using 9mm pulleys, right? And we're going to set it in there like that. Okay, and what that's going to allow us to do is capture the outer section here. Let me think through that. No, we go like this. Screw goes through into nut. We'll get that started. We'll close this over, and that now captures the head here. Whoops. That captures the head of the flange. We'll screw this in. And there's the outer flange. Yeah, I've got 608 for days. And this piece we're just going to set to the side. We need another one of these. And we put it in the opposite direction. We'll do the same thing. At least I believe. Yeah, there we go. Probably would have been a little bit easier if I removed the set screws out of there. Seeing as how I don't know if those are actually down in there on the hub. There we go. Now we just popped off the big side of the hub. Now we're going to take this back off. Put our thing back down there. And now we're going to use this piece. That'll sit right down there. We'll put that piece in there. This piece here. And it's just too short of a bolt. Darn it. I need to get a longer bolt. Slightly longer. And what this will do is press that that hub onto here. Oh, come on, for the love of Pete. Apparently I need just a little bit longer bolt than this. I think this is an M3 by 50 and it called for a 55. I may not have a 55. Always one step forward, two steps back. So do I have 40s and 50s intermixed? I might. All right, let me see here. All right, might be good. I've got some 40s and 50s I think might be intermixed in here, so bear with me momentarily. We get the big boy out. Do that to hold everything in place. We'll just start scrunching this down. So we feel it hit. Oh, a little bit more. Might be as far as we're going to get. Yep, there we go. Just like that, we now have a live idler. We need to do that one more time. And once again, that means we've got one of these that's now useless. Same thing's going to happen. We'll take two and make one. So that goes to the side. This goes on one side. We put the thin side on the outer edge. Get our bolt started. What's a printer? I got distracted again by doing printer work, didn't I? Okay. So, you ready for this preheat then? Get rid of that and that so you can see. This is the frame for the new printer. Kind of hefty. It's just about at my waist, like the belt, without the skirts on. It is taller than the rat rig, and it's about as wide and deep as the rat rig. This will be 370 by 370 by 420. We're using our neon magenta polymaker again. So we're going to be neon magenta with some black accents. Is it an IDEX? No, it is not. It is not an IDEX. This is a Ender 5 Plus turned into CoreXY with triple lead screw. And do I know anything about Vorons? I do. I do. And we're going CNC All-Metal Gantry, and we're getting the CNC motor mounts for Z and the CNC arms for the bed mounts as well. So we're just going to have a lot of metal here, is basically what we're going to wind up with. So, yeah. If it's not an IDEX or a dual, why build it? I did not mill these parts. I got them from SendCutSend. I just finished printing all the parts for the main Casa enclosure for the Milo mini mill. So we will be working on that here in the near future. I just can't do that in here because there's not enough room. If I build it here, it's never coming out of this room, and I'm not running a mill in my office. Okay. So that part's off. Now we're going to set this up to pull the large hub portion off. Let me go ahead and pull these set screws out so I'm not fighting against any of those. Oh, darn you. Set screw. Out. But yes, I need to get the Milo up and running. I did get some machine vice parts to test from Jason at LDO. So we will be working on that. So this will be the harder part because we're pulling off the thicker hub piece now. All right, you just heard that crack. That's not the part cracking, that's the seal breaking on that bearing edge. Now we're getting that pushed off. Right, so there's the thick portion of the bearing off. Which, by the way, now we just made a lock collar that we can use on other builds. Into our bolt. And then once again, we're going to take this out, put in our little shim ring here, our hub piece that we knocked off earlier, and the thinner part here. Get all that lined up with our 50mm screw. That's somewhat tightened in there. Lock that down, which is going to hold all of these parts in the right alignment. And we'll start screwing that down to press that ring or flange on the other side of the bearing. And how close are we? Not even started, really. Alignment, alignment. Okay. Are we getting started, or are we just we're not getting anything done? Very nicey. Goes there, that closes over, all nice and neat. So much easier watching somebody else do it. So are we just not in alignment somewhere? Or my bolt is starting to turn in the part, I believe. So we were starting to get it on there, but I think as luck would have it, I may have this on the in the wrong, or not in the wrong direction, but the opposite direction of how it was pulled out. That makes sense. So most definitely for heathen. And I'm not sure if it makes a difference, but the reason I just popped that off, and we'll try and do it in the opposite way, and I'll show you. So if you see the side of the flange, it's nice and shiny. You see this side of the flange, you can see there's kind of some teeth marks. So this side originally was pressed up against the gear. So I'm going to pay a little bit more attention when I go to put this in there this time to press it and make sure that I get that flange towards this edge, as it may be why I'm having an issue getting everything lined up right. Can't guarantee it, but it might be. Yeah, witness marks. And I will say that that's exactly what we needed to do. So there's our next live bearing. So we've got our 2 live bearings made. We've got a new little tool that we can use for future endeavors if we ever need to do this again. What else? 2, 4. We found our 50mm screw. Put that back in its holder. Ugh. Things back where they were so that we can find them again. And like I said, in essence, these are now pretty much useless. We can't use these. Crap, I thought I pulled all. I'm going to pull all of the set screws though, because we can use set screws. So that stuff can go away. We've got some extra set screws. These are M3 set screws that we'll use for something else down the line. So one side that's low, the other side that one's high. What can we do over here? So this is our left side. God dang it. Left side idler, which is this one, right? And we'll have one pin here that will have our bearing stack in. The other side, we're going to start with a bushing. That's a 695 2RS bearing. So I'm going to flip this over. We're going to go ahead and remove these. These are the ones that were non-Loctited, so we're good there. Trying to see what I can do where I don't have to wait on the printed parts. Hopefully I won't have to take a bunch of stuff back apart because we did this. But so here's our top. We're going to have a dowel here. Let's see what size dowel. That should be a 30, M5 by 30. Yeah, M5 by 30, which means this will be an M5 by 30 as well. So we'll need two M5 by 30s. One will go there. We'll need an F695 QRS bearing. That will flush mount there. Nice, good fit. Our pen will go in that. Okay. Have I told you how much Fusion's pissing me off right now? All right, we look like a half and two ones again for this bearing stack that's in the middle there. A half. One, two. We need our flange. Regular bearing. Tighter fit on this pen. A loose fit in the hole, but the bearings themselves are pretty tight fit. All right, so you wish you had remote. Yeah, I could pull you out some more. Maybe. Yeah, these pens are very, very tight. And I'm going to have to try and pop these bearings back off because it really should not be that tight. I don't know if it's the bearing tolerance or the shafts. All right, we'll work on that one later. Okay, that one seems to go on easier. How about God? Yes, I have calipers. Yes, I have caliper. I also have cheap bearings that probably don't have the appropriate inside diameter fit for it's not bad. The other thing it does say is you can sand these. When you sand them with some emery cloth or some fine grit sandpaper, I need to get some emery cloth is what I need to get. But that'll be another one of those things for another day because I don't have any with me right now. So, press fits there, half, 1/1. Um, and then once again, flange bearing, plays hell getting on. I'm wondering if there's a small burr at one end. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Question is do I have sandpaper under here? I do. I do have some sandpaper. I've got sandpaper. Now you don't want too loose of a fit because then your bearings aren't doing you any good either. That seems good on that side. Do the other end just a little bit. Wipe it down to get any grit off. Half, 1, 1, flange down towards the shims, standard bearing, flange facing the top. And there we go. We'll need one more of our ones. And then a printed part. Now over here, we've got our bearing. It looks like there's going to be a bearing on both sides. Yes. Bearing on both sides, a printed part, and then our live bearing. So that one's going to be coming in from this side. We'll need a one of those pushed through. one of those. Now, is there... There's a 10-1. Then our live idler. And then we'll have the spacer at the top, and then these two halves get sandwiched together. So that's kind of about as far as we can go until we get our printed parts, and then we can sandwich those together. Now the other side, we'll see if we can't do a full rotation around the model. Here we go. And take the bottom off. Yeah, just remember when you're doing this sanding, less is more. So definitely go slow and sneak up on it. Okay, so in this case, we're going to start with we'll need our 2 flange bearings. Well, we'll need 4 flange bearings. One's going to get pressed in on this side. Maybe. One gets pressed in on this side. Okay. So once again, this is the top. So we're looking at this piece right over here. So we have a 1 millimeter. Whoop, we need our rod. Yeah, we'll have to work on that later. Rod, 1 millimeter. Our other live bearing, we'll get the spacer at this side. Then on the bottom, once again, we're working this stack now from this bottom plate up. So yeah, I'm just trying to get my visual on again. Yeah, that 5 millimeter there. So we need a 5 millimeter dowel. Right, and that's being a little hard to press in. So most likely we're going to need to do some loving on this particular rod. Once again, very little. Go slow, take your time. You're just trying to remove a little bit of the surface. Get rid of any little burr. So that'll fit down in there nicer. Okay. I think I see a little bit of something on the inside of this hole, so we're just going to run the deburring tool around it a couple, 3 times. The outside. There we go. Okay, that is not going in. Let me just check my... All right, flange bearings are going on. Standard bearing going on. So it's something with this hole right here. And like I said, I do not want to enlarge this hole. Which if I did a whatchamacallit, a reamer, it would enlarge that hole and it might become a slip fit. Now, I do not have my mallet up here, but we do have our hard surface dead blow. Harder surface. There we go. That pin's not going to come out. 0.5 millimeter and 2 1 millimeters. .5 shim. One millimeter. Flange bearing stack. Flange down towards the shims. Standard bearing. Flange facing up. One more 1 millimeter shim. And now we need a printed part. And then we'll be pretty much done and ready for these two to go together. So we've got these parts ready to go. We're pretty much in a holding pattern waiting for the prints to finish. So I think, folks, it's 1:30. We've been going for a couple of hours now, about 3.5 hours. Flip over here to the main view. And I think we're done for now. You know what? I didn't even look in here to see if they provide or what they provide. Nope, that's just for the doors and the panels and that kit. Good. Now, here's the other thing. I probably have all of these shims and everything sitting over on the printer, which is still downstairs, still in printing order. Pretty soon, it's not going to be that way. Once we get these printed parts done, we get these things put together, the gantry is ready to go. At that point, we're going to bring the other printer up here, in which case I have no space. I may just take things apart downstairs and bring it up because all I'm going to need out of the top gantry is the 3 linear rails. I'll need the 3 linear rails. I can't reuse the belts because they're 6mm. I can't reuse any of the printed parts because we have a metal CNC gantry now. So, and 9mm belts. So, yeah, I think that's where we're going to be at as far as getting everything ready. Oh, I know I have another 6 hours in me, Pesliz. I also know that I need to go downstairs and check on Mrs. Dragon and see what's going on with her because she got up late. And when I just went downstairs, I don't know where she's at. She may have left to go get Dunkin' Run, which would be awesome. So that's kind of where we're at. We're in the holding pattern. We're going to wait for those printed parts to pop out, and then we can get this done. Who knows? Maybe we stream a little bit more down the way, or maybe not. We'll see. You did 10 kilometers this morning. You needed Dunkin'. How did you do 10 kilometers? Driving, biking, walking? Sounds like science to you. Yeah. So yeah, we're making progress. That's what we were really working on here, was to make some progress. Like I said, I think we've got everything going good here. Yeah, I think we made good progress. We've got stuff going on. I need to bring back my tools from, are you reusing? Yes. Yes. So the Z motors are being reused. I was going to take the Hydra and just lift and shift over. We're not going to do that because, well, we're getting new mounts and stuff. So the linear rails are coming over. The Z motors and the linear, or the lead screws coming over. The bits, bobs, and gubbins coming over. The printed bed mounts and the printed trucks not coming over. We have aluminum ones being made right now by N3D Tech. We don't know how long it's going to take for those to get here, but we're waiting for those to get here. If we're waiting, one of the things that we can do is get our skirts and stuff put on, which I'm printing some skirt pieces right now. Once these pieces are done in the magenta over on Dragoon 1 over here and cooled off, I will start printing the feet for the skirts, because that will lift it up. Once I have it lifted up, then I can do the drop hangers, and we can just take the remove all the wires, and we will literally take the DIN rails out, swap the DIN rails for the right color, drop them into the printer, and go from there. They may have to be cut because of the different, these are 2040s on the side, and the one up there I think is 2020s. So we might have to make some adjustments. I've got plenty of DIN rail. If I need to cut new DIN rail, that's not a big thing for me, right? We're going to be doing the Kraken motors. So Free Heathen, you're going to like this. Let me go over here to the bench side. So here's our motors. And by the way, this is just one motor, right? So these are the Kraken motors by Devil Design, otherwise known as Omnirello and LDO. You crack open the case. And there's our heavy motor, right? 5 mil D shaft, and it's long enough that we'll be able to do the double shear. And you'll notice we've got, if I can get untwisted, standard 4-pin for the motor and 2 more wires. What are these? The motors have built-in thermistors. So we'll be able to monitor the temp of the motors, and that'll be good, because one of the things that we may do when we get in there is, I don't think I can do it with the existing board. So we'll start with just a straight lift and shift, and then maybe we'll do some rewiring, and we'll put these on 5160s running at 48 volt. And we'll be able to do our CoreXY motion super speedy. So we've got a pair of these, thanks to West 3D. So West 3D is partly sponsoring some stuff. So they sponsored the Kraken motors. The Nebula frame I got from KB3D. I paid for it. The panels paid for through KB3D. So they're getting, they got me those things. I think parts of the original kit that I have downstairs are from Fabrico. So I believe the rails and stuff may be Honey Badger rails, stuff like that. I can't remember 100% sure. I do know that the existing tool head in it was a Revo tool head. I had the high flow heater for it. I just never installed the high flow heater, which would allow me to go to high flow nozzles. I may do that. I may put something else in it. Kind of haven't decided yet. I can tell you that I do have the Dragon burner, and I'm going to have to be a little cagey here. But our Dragon burner tool head for the riff is done. The plan will be to put a beacon on this, or a what's the other thing? Cartographer. Does have a PT1000 thermistor on it. So I may put its brother or sister in this one, or I might just keep it the same, reprint the toolhead parts, and add the Revo high flow heater core, which is the 60 watt heater instead of the 40. And I've got a couple of high flow nozzles that I can use in it, Revo nozzles. I'm hearing that standard Revo may be going away. They're just not going to start making them anymore. I think they're going pretty much all the high flows. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what I'm hearing, because parts are getting really, really, really hard to come by. Which means people are starting to jack the price up for no good reason. But we're going to work on getting this stuff installed here. You're going to see me going back and forth between CAD. Like, what I want to do is do CAD to get these pieces assembled, right? And then, yeah, high flows. Well, the Revo high flow is literally a 60 watt heater versus a 45 watt heater, and then the nozzles themselves have different internal geometry. But like I said, coming across some standard Revo nozzles, like, I didn't even think about that. I've got some 6s. I know what's his name was looking for 0.4s, but I've got some 6s, and I've got a high flow 6 here as well, which includes Bondtech technology, which I think is basically, I think they have a CHT type of internal, so higher heat or higher watt heater with the breakout channels like a CHT on the internals. It just means that you can get that heat into it more so you can push more filament through reliably. But once again, going faster then has other downsides, and your parts getting more brittle, your layer adhesion not being as good. Because in order to keep it from melting parts, you have to apply cooling, which means you're shock cooling a part and then trying to come over it with another molten layer, and your layer adhesion just goes bad and you get brittle. Like, I can tell you with the NextG the Fadus NextG hot end, I was getting 48 millimeters cubed per second flow rate in ABS at 290. Right? You can run your materials hotter. It's just, can you get good clean layers running it hotter like that? Running it hotter, you will get better layer adhesion, but once again, if you're having to shock cool it to keep the quality, the external quality of the print, then you're also going to start damaging your layer adhesion because you're having to shock cool it and that's where everybody's like CPAP and skirt coolers and all that stuff. But anyhow, Kevin, how's it going? Welcome in. Kevin's got the, I was going to say, Kevin has the orange auto eject that I took to Murph. It's apparently no longer orange, it's a dark gray. And it's not printed in PETG, it's printed in ABS now. So, appreciate that. It looks great. I hope you take that along with your handle and stuff and send that over to Mukesh. Or I will, one of the two. It is sexy. It is sexy. Yeah, he's a dark gray monster. And yeah. Kevin's rubbing off on me. I've got dark and light gray, multiple spools coming in from Bamboo. And we're going to start printing out some rugged bends and some screw bends and stuff like that, and try and reorganize the shop, because it is, I mean, it is getting dangerous over here, right? Let me do this. Let me pull the zoom out. Okay. So this is my safety zone right now. That's it. We've got the riff taking up space here. We've got the nebula frame right here, and a very narrow walkway between my bench, or my little stool, that I can walk around. I've got to clean. I've got to organize, which means in the near future, you may see out on my Discord and a few other Discords, some of my printers going up for sale, because I need to make room. Right? Certain printers, like I said, aren't going anywhere. The Rat Rig, the Black Box, Iron Dragon's not going anywhere. Fey Dragon's most likely not going anywhere, because that's going to get the stealth changer, unless I grab Kyber Dragon, which is an LDO kit back from Ecovate, and update that. Stop making DD72 so dark. Thanks, Diesel. How's it going, my friend? You didn't think the lab could get worse? Yeah, it could. Yeah, it could. I'm back to a serious, serious tripping hazard. Like, serious tripping hazard. And I got parts and crap everywhere. I need to clean up. I need to inventory the parts. I know I've been talking about it, but damn it, we're going to start getting it done. Partly because we were doing some stuff down at Ecovate, trying to get their maintenance room under control, inventory, and cleaned up so it's more usable. And now I feel like a complete turd sack. So I need to get my act together. Oh yeah. Yeah, every step up the stairs has 2 to 3 spools of filament sitting against the side of the step. Thanks, Kevin. You'll help me move stuff? Yeah, you'll help me move stuff, what, over to your house? Sounds like zombie sauce. Well, eventually, Liz, what's going to happen is I'm going to sell one of my major projects, which is the plane project, and that will make space that I can do some things with. But that'll be down in the garage, so that will be, eventually we're going to see more printers like this frame or this form factor, maybe some Centauri Carbons, and those are going to be production running machines, and they'll probably be along the bottom where it's not readily seen all the time, and I'm going to be doing that to run production stuff. His wife finally took the filament and put it in the workshop, says this girl with filament in the kitchen. Liz. Okay. Bench side camera, if it'll move with me. You see this filament rack over here? Right? That is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 5 shelf like tower system. There's one downstairs right next to her P1 that's got all her pretty PLA filaments on it. And I've got that one. I've got filament in drawers underneath this bench. I've got filament on the bookshelves over here. Right? 1, 2, 3 things with filament. I got filament stacked on the floor. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of filament in the closet. I've got filament stacked on the floor over there in the corner. I've got cases of filament downstairs. Yeah, I've got filament. Filament's not the problem. It's me getting projects done, and partly I need my 20 amp circuits. So I've got to get my 20 amp circuits in. What I'm trying to do is get my plane project sold. Once that is sold and out of the way, that frees up to get an electrician in here, because I'll have them drop 20 amps downstairs and then 220 amps along this back wall here. Because what keeps happening is if I'm running 3, maybe 4 printers at the same time, I'll pop the circuit in here. And it could be that I'm running 3 printers doing ABS all the time, and all of a sudden it just pops. I think it's just the wires themselves are starting to get hot from the load. That'd be cool, Waters. Yeah, so Kevin Waters works over at Ecovate. He's the lead repair tech, and they are Bamboo authorized service providers. So they do have the Bamboo stuff, and they can help look into that stuff. Waters, yes. I am. Monday's going to be a cluster, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're doing a leadership offsite, which is actually on site for the majority of us, but we're flying people in from around the states. And I know Mikesh is coming in on Tuesday, I believe. But yeah, I'm out of pocket definitely Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which means no stream at all on Tuesday because I'm at a mandatory fund dinner. Wednesday, I'm at a mandatory fund dinner. Thursday, several people, or actually a lot of the out of town folks are flying out. So Thursday may be a stream if I'm not just exhausted. Yeah, and Diesel knows what I mean by mandatory fund. Yeah, that should work. If he's flying in though on Tuesday, maybe not Tuesday. He's probably going to be a little wiped out, though I don't know. He's kind of a strange one, like up at all hours of the day and night. But he should be able to ring you and do like we were doing Discord meetings, just video calls through Discord. So should be able to do that. Um, so yeah, he's already working U.S. hours right now. It seems. Gotcha. He's probably doing that, trying to get ready for the trip. So Kevin, Auckland, New Zealand is 16 hours ahead of Eastern time. I can't remember if you're in Eastern or Central time zone. But yeah, so that's where we're at, folks. A lot going on the projects. We're gonna try and get some more stuff done here. Um, you need to get Mikesh to be your Discord friend. You can work his hours. Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, we'll get it going. For now, folks, I'm gonna go ahead see who we can raid out into. Um, let's take a quick gander at the PC. At who we've got. More, Foxen, Stephen Poole, Prophet DNA. Not a lot going on. Not a lot. Looks like more might be doing is that words on stream. So yeah, more is in a partner push. I was just noticing that. Yeah, we need to get him over on Discord more. I agree. Thanks, Liz. We're going to go ahead and get over to more. So, once again, thank you all for being here. Thank you for hanging out with me on this Saturday. Yeah, still recovering from yesterday. Some people were out partying. Some people headphones on, heads under the pillow. But it is what it is. Thanks everybody for being here. I will see you guys next time. Like I said, you may see a pop-up stream. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on Monday. I may try and get some more streams in. We'll see. But I know Tuesday, Wednesday for sure, no stream because it's going to be, yeah, early morning to late at night. You may see me on Friday, Waters. You may see me today. I may come back down there today because I need my toolboxes because I need parts out of that to work on this. So, with that being said, peace, everybody. Have a great day. You won't be there today? Aw, sad face. Taking your one actual day off. Okay. Sounds great. Everybody have a great day. I'll see you later. Bye now. For those of you watching on YouTube, thank you for sticking around. I know we kind of rambled towards the end of that. We kind of do that some. But if you like the content and like the cool projects that you see behind me and the ones that we're working on today, please be sure to like and subscribe down below. When you do, check that bell. Just make sure that you get notified of future videos as they come in. And speaking of videos, YouTube's going to be suggesting one right there.